Well, welcome to the Tiny Room podcast, another amazing episode this week. And as usual, we have an awesome guest. We've got Marlize in the house, and she's sitting all the way up in Porch, and we're very excited to have her here. Marlize is in her master's year, or in a master's program for educational psychology. And without me trying to kind of frame her and introduce her and bring her across to you as amazing viewers, I'm going to hand it over to Marlize. Welcome to the Tiny Room, and thank you for being an awesome guest on our podcast episode this week. So yeah, just give us a little bit of an intro of who you are and kind of like your little bit of your background before we get into the juicy stuff.
Yeah, awesome. Thanks, Lucinda. Thank you for having me on your podcast. I'm very much looking forward to chatting to your viewers. A little bit about me. I just finished my master's degree in December last year. Oh yes.
Amazing.
It was challenging. It was, as my husband liked to say, a lot of opportunity to grow, And I am currently kind of in limbo as I wait to start with my internship on the 1st of June. So I will start as an intern educational psychologist on the 1st of June and then do my 1-year internship. And then next year, this time I'll be registered. Oh, there goes my whiteboard.
It's all good as long as you're okay.
Woo, I'm good.
Thanks.
So by this time next year, I'll be done with my board exams, done with my registration, and finishing my internship at the end of May. So yeah, exciting things to look forward to. And while I'm hanging around in limbo, I am currently busy doing study methods with kids from grade 4 to grade 12, teaching them how to study a little bit more, teaching them a few techniques, and here and there, university students as well. And that's where I am. Yeah.
But now, speaking on that,
yes,
I know you for quite some time, and obviously a lot of viewers won't know this, but your background started off in teaching. Am I right?
No, actually, funny story. I started with a year in law. I did 1 year law.
Okay.
Yes. Did 1 year law, and within the first 3 weeks, I said to my father, "This is not working. I don't like this." And then I started taking psychology as extra subject. Completed the degree in psychology and communication. Didn't want to do anything with teaching. I was not interested in teaching or working with children at all. And after I completed my communication degree, I went to South Korea. Wanted to get out, wanted to get away, just needed a break. Went to South Korea, and within the first month of teaching, I was like, this is it. Love it, loved working with the kids, especially the little ones at that stage. And from there, just kind of organically went via teaching, got my postgrad certificate in education, got honors degrees, and now I'm done with the ed psych. So, yeah.
Oh my gosh, listen to that path, eh? Because I know that you're extremely passionate about education, but also, the development of smaller kids and just working with kids. And I, like with me, being in therapy, love working with tweens and teens, always been working with little ones. And now I'm like kind of doing this gig now with tweens and teens.
Yeah.
So I love what you're going to bring across today, because we chatted about this before the episode on, every guest, we ask them, what's on your heart? What's the main point that you would love to speak into? And frame it a little bit with, sub-points. And you sent the message saying that you wanted to speak around, motivation and vacation, same, but different.
Yeah.
Just to kind of lay out the landscape or kind of the context, and put us in the full picture. Give us the thoughts behind that main point, and obviously as I go along, we'll get into each sub-point, but there's a lot that you want to speak to us about, and we all ears, we want to hear. So, the floor is yours. Go for it.
Okay, so while I was thinking about, because you basically said to me, come and talk about what's on your heart.
Yeah.
And while I was thinking about this, I actually spoke to the school where I'm going to be doing my internship. Is a high school. So I'm doing my internship at a high school. Because I have experience with little ones, I needed to broaden my horizons a bit. And I was speaking to their peer counselors, and they asked me to talk on motivation. So as I was thinking about what I will bring to this podcast, I was also planning a vacation.
Okay.
So, yeah. So for me, as you know, when it comes to things like motivation, it's often said that I'm not going to go into too much detail there, but dopamine is almost like your motivation hormone.
Mm-hmm.
And I've learned that the one thing that gets me going is vacation, planning to travel. So it's almost like I get my kick from traveling.
Okay.
So that's how I kind of brought these two things together. And I know it's like, that's very weird, but okay.
No, but I
cool.
get it because I love traveling too, and we're busy planning a vacation now for August, and
yes,
it's very exciting, and it kind of gets you
Yes.
through some of the slump of the boring day to day.
yes. And it doesn't take anything for me to sit down and plan a trip. I don't know if you know, we're leaving for Cape Town this Wednesday, a 10-day trip to Cape Town and then back via the coast. So it doesn't take anything for me to sit down and plan that. But when it came to my research last year, it was not that easy.
Yeah.
And that's kind of how I brought this together, where I sat down and I thought about vacation. What are the main things when I think about a vacation? And then I thought, but how can I make this? Actually, what are the touch points when it comes to motivation? And that's how I basically came to the 3 sub points that I have for vacation and motivation. How they're same, but they're different. So that's basically, and the other thing is, because I work with study methods, I often have parents tell me that their kids lack motivation. So that's a big thing that I work with.
Yeah,
Yes.
how can a therapist fix the motivation thing?
Yes.
You know, I've got my own ideas around motivation and how that works out in my life, you know.
Exactly. So I'm going to share a little bit with you today about my journey with my kids, my study method kids, my own journey with late adult diagnosis of ADHD, having realized that my whole life I haven't been motivated because I wasn't interested in stuff. Mm-hmm. So all of these little things that I've learned, I'm just going to be sharing a few of them with you, and let's see where it goes from there.
I'm so excited. We are all ears.
Woo-hoo. Right. So what I usually tell the little ones, like put in your listening ears, so then they have to listen.
Yeah.
And they're usually interested because they can do something funny, and that keeps them interested and motivated. So I'm not going to expect of you to put on your listening ears today, but
I'm a big kid. I've got them on.
Awesome. So the first thing is that we need to look at a definition of motivation. And that's so broad. It's so broad. And it's kind of what I've gotten along with my journey, is that motivation is something, I'm going to read it to you because
go for it.
It's something inside of us that helps us to push through and take action even when it's difficult or even boring. So it's something that helps us to go on. And some people might say, but no, that's willpower. It might be. It might be discipline. It might be habit. But this is one of the definitions for motivation. So that's something inside of you that keeps you going when you just, one of my favorite things to say is I'm unable to can. So when you are unable to can, that's the thing that keeps you going. All right. So let's get started on the roadblock. So when you start planning, Lucinda, when you plan a vacation, right, what are the things that you think about?
Firstly, I think about the full cost and am I going to achieve this vacation or not?
Yeah.
Depending on if it's local, it's normally overseas, thankfully. Very blessed. So, it's flights, it's possibly friends to stay with or hotels. So once again, booking that, but also can those costs be incurred? And then once you've got those things, a roof over your head and obviously getting there, then you start thinking of, okay, what do you want to do when you're there? And then what will that cost? And how long can you go away for? Because you got a job, you've got maybe a business, you can't step away for that long. But the details for me come a bit later. And sometimes you leave a bit of gap for your flexibility and relaxation. You don't want to have a fully detailed itinerary. I tend to do that. I like to have a very full itinerary, and my husband doesn't find that relaxing at all. So for me, that's kind of how I layer it, more or less. Yeah,
awesome. So there's a lot of planning that goes. Well, I'm also a planner. My husband is also not. So I absolutely hear what you're saying. He wants to process, and I want to see everything.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of things that you need to consider when you're traveling, whether it's overseas or even if you do a local trip. It's going to sound like I'm on vacation all the time. We actually went to Umhlanga last week with my mom. The upcoming trip is for the 2 oceans, so it's not only traveling, it's for doing something else.
Dying, basically.
When you take like a road trip, a local road trip, there are quite a few things to keep in mind. Apart from also what you said is important, the costs. What are we going to do? Where are we going to stay? But then something like, what are you going to be traveling with? Are you going to take your car? Are you going to fly, take the bus, take a taxi, take a Vespa, walk? Like what's the mode of transport you're going to use? You need to look at your travel time. How long will you be traveling? I remember we went to New York just before the COVID thing happened, and we spent, I think it was like 12 hours in the air between Dubai and New York. Just Dubai, New York. It is,
Really.
it's brutal. So you have to keep that in mind. You know, if you're traveling in South Africa locally, will you be taking breaks? Will you be sitting in the car? If you've got kids in the car, you know, what are you going to be doing with them for the whole 12 hours traveling to Cape Town? Then stuff like, where will you be fueling up? What will you be using? Petrol, diesel, 93, 95. What is it that you are fueling your car with? Will you have a co-driver? Are you going to be on your own? Detours. What if there is something you want to see? Oh, you're driving and, oh, there's a, I don't know, museum that looks fantastic. Will I be going there? What will I be doing? And then also the destination. You know, what does the destination look like? What is my destination? Will I say I have arrived when I see the ocean there on the horizon? Will I say that I have arrived when I put my bags down, when I sit with my feet up looking at the waves? When do I know I have arrived? So those are just a few things that I think we need to look at when we think about traveling. So how I bring that back to motivation is, first of all, your vehicle. This is my motivation vehicle. This is my study vehicle. My vehicle is not the same as your vehicle. And up until last year, July, I was an advanced mind moves instructor. And I'm not going to go into too much detail with what we did there, but one of the tools that we had was dominance, brain profiling.
Okay.
Left and right hemisphere, left eye, left ear, right eye, front, back, top, and bottom, brain profiling. And that is part of your vehicle, because if you are back brain dominant, you tend to want much more information before you take action. Whereas your front brain dominant kids, they just jump in. They don't need a lot of info. They just go.
Oh, wow.
Then you have left and right brain. I'm left brain dominant. I want steps. I want to know step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4. Whereas my husband is not. He's just like, you know, he'll figure it out as he goes along. So the vehicle depends or kind of helps you to go in the direction that you need to go. So I know, for me, I procrastinate because I want things to be more perfect.
Okay.
The left brain dominance, and there's a whole discussion about left and right brain dominance, and it's just not the platform for that now. But when you're left brain dominant, you tend to be more detail oriented. You want things to be in steps. So I focus on details. I want to have steps. I want to know that this is what I need a plan.
Yeah.
If I don't have a plan, then it's very hard for me to fake motivation.
Yeah. Need some clarity.
Yeah. So I know. And it's one of the things that I also do is I go and I sit in the morning and I plan my day. This is what I'm doing today. There we go. Like I said, with regards to your left eye and your left eye and right eye, your left eye is easily distracted. So we have transposed profiles, so it's a little bit turned around, but the 85% of people are left eye, creative, bigger picture, sees everything. So if I look at you and there's a bird flying past me, I'll look at the bird. Okay. Because the left eye is easily distracted, where the right eye can focus on one thing. So all of these things are things to keep in mind when I think about studying. If there is if I'm sitting and I'm sitting down, I'm going to study, or I'm going to work, or I'm going to exercise. My husband laughs at me because I have to stop saying that, but I wasn't born a natural runner. Like it's not. I'm not sporty spice. I'm not sporty spice, right? So I know, right? I know what distracts me. I don't want things around my neck. I don't want sleeves. I want a V-neck. I need a ponytail. I need a cap on my head. He needs to be on my left side. He laughs at me. But I know myself. This is my vehicle.
Yeah.
If I have a ponytail bouncing around, I will almost stop. Like, I'm done. I'm not going to run anymore. This is it. So know your vehicle. What is it that distracts you? How does your brain work? Right? Then your travel time. We need to decide how long I will be spending on this that I'm planning on doing. Whether it is, like I said, exercising, whether it is studying, whether it is working, you with a business, you know that there's a lot of planning going into business, right? You have to plan. Am I going to the Facebook pages and the Instagram? There's a lot of sitting down, scheduling posts, all of those things. We need to plan for that. And we need to remember that even as adults, your brain can only concentrate for this much.
Yeah.
There's a book that I read. It's called Deep Work. I can't remember who the writer is now. But he spoke about how your focus, your deep focus is a muscle that we need to train. The majority of adults aren't trained to focus for a long time. So in general, my recommendation would always be take breaks. Do a 40-minute, the Pomodoro method, 25 minutes and a 15-minute break, or 45 minutes and a 10-minute break, and in those 10 to 15 minutes, we're not checking our WhatsApps, we're not checking our emails, we're not playing Candy Crush, we're getting up, drinking water. I know how it is. I tell this to the kids, but we also battle with it as adults. Like, I'm just going to quickly check, like, what's my score like, So plan for your breaks. Because what happens when you are on a long road trip and you fall asleep behind the steering wheel? You need to plan for those leg stretches. Your petrol, plan for your snacks. Something that I know, oh man, the moment I sit down and concentrate, I develop a craving for coffee. I know this. So I know I get my coffee, I get my water, I get my peanuts, I get whatever I need. So plan. Again, with the exercise, it's one of those things that we tend to be like, I'm not motivated to go to the gym today. Sure.
Yeah.
So plan for whatever, so you don't have an excuse. Oh no, my blood sugar is low, so I'm just not going to go on the treadmill. Be prepared for whatever might come your way. Your co-driver, are you battling with this on your own, or are you going to get some support? So I've learned that saying, listen, I can't do this on my own is actually a strength. And I'm using quite a few apps that help me concentrate, that help me focus. Brilliant. I've even had my wonderful, very patient husband has parental control locked my phone for certain apps at a certain time of night, because I know my own willpower is not enough for me to say, like, 9 o'clock, I'm done, now I'm going to sleep. So 9 o'clock, whatever, Facebook, games, TikTok, emails, they all go off. And I don't know the code, and I think he's forgotten the code as well.
I love it.
No, really. So, I think we shouldn't think that, and also we shouldn't think that willpower, that we are weak when we can't do these things, because remember, willpower is kind of like a muscle.
Yeah.
I heard a fascinating study, and I have to go and find that study. I think it was on one of Brene Brown's podcasts. I know you also like her, where she said that they did an experiment where they gave a group of people candy, or they gave actually two groups of people snacks. The one group, they said, solve this math equation, but you're not allowed to touch the snacks. With the other group, they just said to them, solve this math equation. And the group that were allowed to eat the snacks solved the maths equation easier.
Yeah, there was a reward.
Where the other group was trying so hard to not eat the sweets that they couldn't do that. Like, that makes a lot of sense to me. I'm going to have to go and look for that, but I'll share it with you when I find it.
Yes, please do.
So we have to remember that we try and do these things on our own, but we're not made to do things alone. And even if it's using an app to support you with your motivation, then why not? There's another app that I recently discovered called Forest, where you, I don't know if you know it, you kind of plant a tree. So you plant a tree, you say, I want to concentrate for 25 minutes. And in the time that you're concentrating, your little tree grows.
Oh.
Because
we use the seed analogy in our one therapy session. I think it's in session 7 somewhere. And that makes so much sense. Okay, you have to see all this stuff with us.
I will. So it's such an elementary app. So as time goes on, you've got this little forest growing every time you put your phone down and your little tree was allowed to grow. So we shouldn't feel that we are weak if we find things to help us.
But now, just on that, sorry to break your word.
No,
because
please.
This is a common thread that I'm seeing as you're talking, and it's something that we bring throughout our therapy process. And that's why I say counseling and therapy is a process. It's not a flash in the pan. It's not an ad hoc thing, unless you're doing check-in sessions after you've gone through a process. But our whole way of doing mental health, or our approach to our mental health care and services, is getting to know yourself, your personality, yourself in detail, because once you know yourself really well, no nonsense, no false narratives, just brutally, honestly knowing yourself and not framing every portion of your personality negatively, actually embracing all of you in a positive light, but being real about it, saying, okay, I know I struggle with these certain things. What do I need to put in place to assist me further? Accountability for me is a big thing. I need accountability. I really don't like exercise. So I need to know that somebody's waiting for me because I am a reformed people pleaser. So I still got it a little bit there where I don't want to disappoint people. So I know if I'm gonna get dressed and I'm gonna go because so and so is waiting. My trainer's waiting for me, or some friends waiting for me outside on the street because we're gonna go for a walk or at the gym or wherever. I will then go and I'll be more consistent. But then there's other things that I really enjoy doing. I don't need the mechanisms as much. But that's why we say what buzzes and jazzes you, because if you know what buzzes and jazzes you, it's almost like what's the rewards for you. So when we do the hard stuff and the boring and the dull stuff, what is the payoff you're going to get? I put rewards in place all the time. It's normally coffee. Or a snack. But for me, I know I cannot, there we go, we kindred spirits here, speaking to an audience that's after my own heart. But I know that if I put the coffee in place or the food in place and I've gone and done this thing, then it's done and I can go and sit and, so I always put a reward in place. I am a big kid. I haven't grown up inside. So it's maybe just childlike, and we all are maybe like this. I don't know. Comment below if you feel like you're the same. But putting those mechanisms in place, you cannot do that until you know yourself. You were saying about learning. You got to become a student of yourself. But a lot of people don't, who come in by our door. They don't want to be a student of themselves because they loathe themselves. They're self-sabotaging. They don't like and love themselves. They've been framed negatively in every aspect of their personality. So they want to run away from themselves all the time. So if we introspect, introspection, if you want to not call that something nice, be self-aware, reflect on yourself a little bit more. You're actually a really cool person. We're a lot of fun, positively all around, but we just know that there's some things that we're not, I wouldn't say not great at, but we just need a few things in place, a few tools, techniques, a few mechanisms, just to kind of get to the progress that we want to get to and the potential, live to our full potential. So you are spot on, but just leaning into that, and you touched on it a little bit earlier, and I'm hoping that if you are kind of like wrapped up with the roadblocks, is you spoke about, and I think you said it earlier, about outsourcing certain things. What do you mean by that?
Okay, so outsourcing, actually that's my next point, but the outsourcing can go both ways. So touching on outsourcing when it comes to roadblocks, it is basically, knowing where you might get stuck, where you might get tired, where you're not comfortable. I'm not comfortable driving in potholes. Where there are potholes, my husband is. So knowing where you can, first of all, who you can ask for help, knowing where to start looking for the resources to help you, because one of the things with being resilient, and I was watching your podcast on resilience this morning, and that's one of the things we did in my second year of my master's was group resilience, is knowing where to find the resources, being able to scout them out. So one of the things that makes you resilient is knowing that you have resources and where to find them. True. Because no man is an island, and we know that.
Yeah. No successful man is an island or woman.
Yeah, let's rephrase. And success is a whole other can of worms.
Another podcast. There's another episode.
Oh man, yes. And knowing that I never speak with my kids. I don't tell them that they've got strengths and weaknesses. I tell them they've got strengths and areas to work on.
Love it.
Because I really try and also teach them that the words that we use are important. And like you said, it's not negative. So when I speak to them about goal setting, for example, is when we set a goal, there are good goals and bad goals. A bad goal is I'm scared that I'm going to fail my grade. A good goal is I want to pass my grade. It's literally just changing the words.
Yeah.
So I try and teach them, and this is one of those things. Know where the areas are where you need to grow, improve, and ask for help.
Spot on.
So so that's the co-driver part. And then
would you say, and I know we can't unpack that, and we definitely need to bring this in another episode, and I'm pretty sure you're the person that's going to be the person that's going to do this, but to do that outsourcing, not only do you need to know yourself really well, you also need to be open to being vulnerable.
Yes.
But I found, and I've found the blockage, and I want this to be recorded. This is being recorded, but I want this to be noted that I figured out the biggest blockage to not being vulnerable is pride.
Oh yeah.
And so if you can't outsource if you aren't vulnerable to realize that you need to outsource, and also you can't outsource correctly if you don't know yourself very well. But if you can't be vulnerable, we need to check ourselves and say, why aren't we vulnerable enough to outsource? Why do we want to do it all in our own strength and kind of like just burn ourselves out?
I think there's a flip side. There's a flip side to that coin, Lucinda. I think apart from pride, it's also when we've been hurt. It's very hard
it's a protection mechanism.
Yes, it's very hard to be vulnerable when you think that you can do it yourself. And often we're very proud because we've been hurt. Yeah. I don't need anyone to help me because I come from trauma and I've learned to do things myself.
Spot on.
So there's definitely
that episode. I got the thumbs up on that one. Very excited about that one.
So there's two sides to that, and I think it's starting to find out, why am I scared? Why do I feel I need to do it on myself? Who will I disappoint if I don't? So that's a whole conversation on its own. But yeah, definitely.
Interesting.
Definitely. Yeah.
And then after you've now realized the roadblocks, you're getting to know yourself, you're learning, you're a student of yourself, you are getting that clarity as you move along. I mean, we all a work in progress here, so we're learning as we go along, and as we get older, we realize where we need to outsource, to who we need to outsource. Where to from there?
So, for me, it's usually just actionable steps. You need to figure out, like I said, you need to plan. So figure out what it is that you need. What are the apps that you need, and make sure that, for example, the apps or the people won't be distracting you from what you need to do.
Okay.
So have a plan in place. Don't go in blindly. It's like when you go to the gym without a plan. I'm just going to go to the gym. I've got my new gym outfit. I'm ready to roll, and I sit there. Right? I don't like gymming. It's not my thing. So go to the gym, and then I'll treadmill a few minutes, and then I'll be like, and then I'm done. Like, woo, I'm so accomplished. I did not have a plan. So I usually recommend, when you know what your areas of challenge, your areas of improvement are, plan for it.
Sure. You motivating me here. Okay.
And then also with regards to detours, the moment I sit down, after I've now decided that I need a coffee, I also start thinking about, I need to call this person. I need to reply to that email. Oh, I haven't phoned my mom yet. Oh, I wonder what I think I need to color my hair. Oh, my dog. That's what happens immediately. And those are the detours. So one of the things that I've started doing is I put a notepad next to me. The moment you realize that is something you do, put a notepad or a laminated paper and you write down. As they come into your head, write them down.
Oh, yeah, I brain dump. That's what I do.
Yeah. So I sit there and I'm ready to start with whatever it is that I need to do, but now I've got all these things popping into my head. I write them down, and come back.
Good.
Write them, and it's also just training. You need to train yourselves.
It's good doing it.
Yeah, absolutely. And then the last thing with regards to roadblocks is actually not the roadblock, it's the destination. How do you measure your success? How do you measure your success? Right? Because I'm going to use my running as an example. I am not getting faster. I'm just not getting faster. And it's the most frustrating thing in the world. And my husband has started saying to me, listen, but why are you measuring your speed?
Yeah.
Look at your oxygen, your VO2. Look at your fitness levels. Look at your muscles. Look at your recovery. There are all these things that you can use to measure your success. So when we look at things like motivation with regards to studying, what is the destination? Is usually when I get 90% or 100% for my test, when I've done all my homework. Why not rather measure it in I'm studying for 15 minutes. If I've done my 15 minutes, my one block of 15 minutes, that's a tick.
Yeah.
That's something that I've successfully done.
Yeah.
I've got a lot of kids who don't like reading, and I totally understand that. But I often say to them, if you feel like that's something you need to do, even if you don't like it, measure it in the amount of pages. 5 pages.
Yeah.
You don't have to read a book. If you can finish 5 pages today and 5.5 tomorrow, that's success. So how do we decide what is our destination? What are we working towards? Because that's also very important. We have these goals that we set for ourselves, and then we don't understand why we're not motivated.
Is it goals, or I've come to realize also this line between goals and expectation is blurred all the time. And then it's these unrealistic expectations. And I actually just recently did that very short YouTube video about let's drop the expectations, because we sabotage ourselves. We don't even get started because we have these unrealistic expectations. And people get confused between goals and expectations. And I'm like, okay, we need to get this cleared. But anyway, besides that, it's also not celebrating the small wins. So why do we just brush off all these small, amazing things that happen in our week? Because we seem to think that we have to have done all these bells and whistles, big things before we've had a successful week. And then I'm like, because I'll ask a client every time that they come for a session, what was the highlight of your week? What was the low light of your week? And then they can't think of any highlights. But then as I'm talking to them and I'm probing and I'm just generally trying to get my feedback out of them, in amongst the techniques and tools and stuff, because we're very practical in how we do therapy and counseling. It's not all talk therapy. Then they start realizing, oh my word, like, oh crap. This happened and that happened and that was awesome, and I had a pajama day and I had an awesome movie night and I had a friend that came and visited, and I bought this and this was awesome. And I'm like, how many highlights you gave me? And they're like, oh, true, I had a really good week. All of a sudden they realized their week was balanced, and this one thing that was crap that they just made overpower their whole week was actually minuscule compared to all the highlights of that.
But it's also, I think, it kind of comes to my last point, is also redefining rewards and redefining celebrations and redefining, what we do. Because, I can go, let's move on to the outsourcing and then I'll bring it back.
Okay.
So have you ever been so exhausted that you felt you just need a break? Like you are exhausted, you just need a week away from everything?
Oh, yeah.
Have you ever felt like that?
Yes, I was on 2 weeks leave now.
Okay, perfect. So when you felt like that, right? Did you send your best friend on vacation, or did you go?
No, I went. I was in the PJs watching the TV.
Right? Yes, drinking the coffee.
Yes.
All right. And if your best friend needs a vacation, do you expect them to send you?
No. They would be like, I'm not paying your relaxation time, paying for your relaxation time.
So why is it that we, first of all, expect other people to motivate us and think that we can motivate others? You see.
Sure. Powerful. Drop the mic.
One of the things that I hear the most with my study methods is either during the study methods or before the study methods, the parents will be like, your Pity is really struggling with motivation. I'm hoping that you can motivate him to do better. And then there's always an awkward silence. Okay? Or the other thing is, once we're done and I check in on them a month or two afterwards, and mom's like, or dad's like, no, Sunny's doing really well with like sitting and being ready, but then she doesn't want to. So I don't know how to motivate her anymore.
It's like you got to dangle a carrot. I'm like, no.
Right. And the thing is, if I could bottle motivation and give it to parents, or
you wouldn't be on this podcast.
Right? I would be podcasting with you like from Denmark, looking at a channel or Scottish Highlands or whatever. If I could, I would. So the problem is, like, you can't outsource motivation. And that's I think that's a mindset, and that kind of brings me back to what you were saying about the successes. We see a reward. We see success as this big thing that we get. Oh, you get a sticker on your chart. And yes, there is a time and a place for a sticker on a chart, but we've made it the norm. We've made it the everyday. Oh, you got up. Yeah, there's a sticker on your chart. Oh, you are breathing. There's a sticker on your chart. And I mean, for some people, that might be necessary for a while.
Yeah,
but we need to learn. But we need to learn that some things are fun. And that is the reward. That is the motivation. Yeah. Like you said, looking back on the week and saying that with our nephews, our godkids, we had them for a weekend a while ago, and we had Varkie Dag. You know, and they just loved
oh yes,
Varkie Dag. And they went home and told their parents, oh, they would love to have a Varkie Dag. So they had 2 because they didn't tell them they already had one. But that's something that they enjoy.
Yeah.
So what I often do when I do goal setting, and well, I'll come back to that now. But when I do goal setting with the kids, we talk about having SMART goals, but I always add a plus at the end. And the plus is, how will you reward yourself? Not what will mom do? Mom will give me 100 Rand if I get 10 out of 10 for this test. What are you going to do that you enjoy? And something else that is also very important when we work with motivation, especially with younger children, is before we tell them how proud we are, ask them how they feel about themselves and then acknowledge how they feel.
Sure.
Because one of the things that we do is, and I'm not saying we shouldn't tell them we're proud, because we should, but one of the things we do is we're always just like, well done, good job, I'm proud of you. We're heaping the praise on them without allowing them to trust their own feelings, to trust their own feeling of success.
Yeah, and thoughts about the stuff that's happening internally. Yeah.
Yes. So often what I would do is I would ask them, you know, especially I had a big group of grade 4s that started with me this year. The mom would let me know, no, they got 10 out of 10 for their test. And I would ask them, well, how are you feeling? How are you feeling about this? Oh, ma'am, I'm so proud. Awesome. Yes, you have a reason to be proud. Or, oh, I made a silly mistake. Why do you think it's a silly mistake? Explain it to me. And that's why we can bribe people. We can incentivize people. We can threaten people. But I think, in my opinion, we can't really motivate them. Motivation is really something. And again, it's easier to be motivated when you like what you do.
Yeah. Yeah.
Sometimes you have to dig deep when you don't.
Yeah. Or couple it and weave it into just, either payoffs that are buzzing and jazzing and in line with your personality and what makes you happy. Just to kind of, like, I hate admin. You know, I hate admin. Like, I put headphones on, I play a jol, like a playlist, kind of dance it out, and then the treurige things have to get done. So then when it's done, I feel good, I feel productive, I feel like I achieved something. So there is a payoff also in
and that's
that.
Also where that's also where the roadblocks come in. I strongly dislike admin, but knowing that if I time block, this is my time. Like with my internship, I'm going to be writing at least one it's like report a month, and I loathe writing reports. But knowing that this is Monday evening or Monday afternoon, this is my time for report writing, and just like head down and go for it, because I know myself, and that can help me to plan.
Alrighty, so getting through to our last thoughts on all of this content. It's amazing stuff. There's gold, platinum, diamonds. It's got smoke going off this notebook. So Marlize, what is the last few thoughts that you have, either with wrapping up outsourcing, or you were speaking about, these, small things or these little things that go a long way, and then just generally, what's the last thoughts that you have on your heart for our viewers? So go for it.
Cool. So I just basically want to wrap up with outsourcing, that the second point of outsourcing, where we can't outsource our motivation. Find something to reward yourself. Celebrate the little things. Do whatever you need to do for you to feel like today I had a victory. Even if it is, this morning I remembered to pack my pencil case. That's a big thing. Whatever you think, celebrate those things. And you know what? It's okay if other people don't think that it's awesome, because you need to think it's awesome. If it's awesome for you, other people won't understand our celebrations. They won't always understand our celebrations. Yeah. But you know why you celebrate. You know why you are seeing something as a victory. Celebrate it. Man, you deserve it, And then my last point for today is that a little goes a long way. And there's 2 parts of that. There's 2 little ways of looking at it. The first way is that when you take a trip, you tend to break it down into like little, first we go from here to, Potch, and then from Potch to Paris, from Paris to Kroonstad. This is our road trip to Cape Town. the little things. So when you have a task that tends to be overwhelming, take a step back. Take a step back. My goal, or let's not do the goal now. Let's look at my short-term goal at the moment, is completing the Two Oceans Half Marathon on Sunday. For me to do that, I need to be able to run, walk, at least in my case, 10 kilometers. Before that was 5 kilometers. Before that was 1 kilometer. Before that was be able to do it for a minute without dying. So you break it down into little pieces, or when it comes to homework, to research, to studying, to whatever it is that you need to do, take one step back. And then before that, and then before that, and then before that, and then before that, until you have the smallest little thing that you need to do. Because very often we think, oh my gosh, I want to run the Comrades. That's like 89 kilometers. No, I'm still going to take a nap right now. Okay. But when I go back and I look at what I need to do before that is be comfortable running 5 kilometers. That's the first thing. Once I've conquered that, I can look at the next step, because we overwhelm our brains with these things. When it comes to studying, my research, for example, the research was very tough. And one of the things that I needed to learn to do was, okay, this is my chapter. What are my subheadings? What do I need to do in this specific subheading? What do I need to find out? And before that, and before that, and before that, and before that. Oh, I need to read an article. I can read an article. But finishing 20 pages, that's overwhelming.
And I get overwhelmed very easily. And that's why I actually printed out a picture of an elephant in my final year of my undergrad and put it on my wall, because it reminded me every time how I'm going to eat this elephant, one bite at a time. And then I put a schedule up on my wall, one of those whiteboard marker schedules, and I would just plan out what the next couple of months look like, and then just focus on each line. And just for that month did that stuff, and the next month did that stuff. And that's how I did it until that calendar and that schedule was clean by the end of the year, and I made it through the year, and then I could take that elephant picture off the wall. It was so rewarding.
Something that I also did was, instead of a to-do list, I also had a have-done list. So every time I completed a task, every time I completed a chapter, I wrote it on my completed list. So I saw this list growing with things that I've done, and this list with things that I need to do shrinking. And that was also very motivational. And then the last one is, the last part of A Little Goes a Long Way is that I can't always go overseas. I'm like you. I like putting on a backpack on my back, and we like to couch surf, and I like to travel, explore the world. Sometimes that's not possible.
Yeah, agreed.
Sometimes going to a market for the day is what I can do.
Yeah.
But going to that market, if I'm there and I'm present, I'm intentional about what I'm doing, then that gives me the feeling of, ooh, okay, I've taken a break.
We're on the same page.
Right? So when it comes to motivation, very often, again, like I said, we have these big things. Sometimes you need to do the smallest thing you can for you to feel, at least I've done something. Yeah. Because the other thing is, we tend to feel very, very guilt-ridden. Oh, no, I'm not doing anything.
Guilt, I tell you.
My husband calls it the sambok. I sambok myself quite often. And I know one day with my research, I sat down and I was exhausted. I was like, I'm done. I'm so tired. This has just been such a tedious process, but I can't do nothing. And I sat for 3 hours and I put a series on, and I arranged my references in alphabetical order.
Oh, there we go. And that's handy.
Wasn't a lot of effort, but it was something that I could do. And something else that I try and remember is, what can I do today that future Marlize will be thankful for? Yeah.
Yeah. Just help yourself out in the future.
And future Marlize was like, I'm so glad past Marlize sorted out these references, because now I don't have to do them.
From one researcher to the next. I'm like, I know what that feels like when you leave it to the last minute.
Yeah. So yes, I can't now sit down and write an award-winning article, but I can write the opening paragraph. I can put on my mind map with what it is that I want to say. When I had to plan for this chat today, I sat down and I started with a mind map. This is my main topic. These are my little other topics. Let's just go with what I have. Yeah. That's something. Is it the talk? No, it's not. Yeah. But it's not doing nothing. No. So I don't feel guilty. And it's not overwhelming myself. Yeah. And that's basically A Little Goes a Long Way. Small steps can also make you feel accomplished.
And it does, it compounds. That's why I always tell
Yeah.
clients, like, look at that week where they came up with 5 highlights. When they've just brushed those small things off, they realize, hey, that compounded and made this week not so bad.
Yeah.
We miss these things. We miss the small things because we just think everything has to be this groundbreaking, earth-shifting stuff. And I'm like, no. Life is about all the small choices and decisions, good or bad. They compound, and also all those small things that buzz and jazz you, that threads through or injects fun and excitement and color into your week, personalized and customized to you, because like you said, we're all different. That's what makes me very fun and happy most of the week. I have my moments. I am human. So for me, I'm like, we don't have to have such a tedious, treurig, dull, boring week. Adulting is not always fun. Responsibility is not always fun. So we can do that, but still be very childlike and not take ourselves too seriously, not take this life too seriously. So, Marlize, in closing, is there if you could say anything to any of our viewers, there might be just one person out there that you feel, I really feel like I need to say this to them right now. Like, I don't know, I'm putting you on the spot, but what would it be?
I think that's something you said that's very important, Lucinda, is that, we need to know ourselves. We need to know ourselves. But I also want to say that, remember, even if you don't know yourself as well as you could, you are still the person who knows yourself the best.
Oh, spot on.
And that is something that I really, really want to say to everyone listening, the teenagers, the young adults, the older adults even. You are still the person who knows yourself the best. You're still spending 24/7 with yourself. Trust your instinct, because something that I've also learned is very often our instinct and our gut is just our lived experiences.
Sure.
That's compounding, like you said, compounding and giving us an idea of, what are we comfortable with and what not. And the other thing is, absolutely celebrate the small wins. Absolutely. Life is too short.
Come on.
For us to not find something absolutely joyful. And again, I also have my moments. I read something the other day that said, even if the only big thing that happened was that you tripped and fell down the stairs, at least stand up and say, look how fast I can still fall down the stairs. And I'm not talking about toxic positivity. Yeah. I'm talking about finding the things that are still positive, that are still good, that are still, worth celebrating. And don't be scared to reach out. I think that's an important thing. That's like 3 things. Because yes, we've all been hurt before. We've all been the villain in someone else's story at some stage. But don't be scared to reach out. Because you never know when you reaching out is actually helping someone else out of the water. So that's very, very important for me to remember.
But on that note of reaching out, and we say that a lot, it's literally kind of like part of our story and our narrative is, if you are watching this episode and you are on that fence of, do I reach out, don't I reach out? You are not weak by reaching out. It's the strongest thing you're going to do to realize that you do need that support, that professional support. So if you are needing to reach out, catch us on www.thetinyroomtherapy.com and just press on book now and fill out the form, and let's get you plugged in for counseling or therapy. We offer both, and there is a difference between the two. But at the same time, we do virtual sessions. We've got clients throughout South Africa, South Africans abroad doing virtual counseling and therapy. So Marlize, thank you so much for spending this time, catching up, sharing your heart, sharing your mind, your experience, your passion, your love for people, no matter the age. And just your energy and your knowledge, and we just feel really privileged and honored to gain this time from you, because at the end of the day we value it. It's your life, it's time that you're up to spend with us. And all of Marlize's details will be in the description underneath this episode, so you can reach out to her and get plugged into whatever she's got going on, and we'll bring her back for the next episode. Either going to be about vulnerability or it's going to be about resilience again, or it's going to be about motivation unpacked, the next part 2.
The next chapter.
The next chapter of that. She's probably going to author a book, who knows. We'll definitely bring her on for that. But thank you so much. And to everybody watching,
thanks for having me.
No, thank you. And, coming all the way from Porch, thank you for being in the tiny room. But for the viewers, please like and subscribe and share all of our episodes. You never know who's going to benefit from it. Press the notification button so that you don't miss out on our next episode. But each week we have one that is going to be uploaded and you can be a part of. Comment below, reach out, DM us, catch us on Insta, Facebook, on email. All the details will be below. But we love you guys. Be vulnerable enough to reach out. Don't, struggle on your own. This world would be robbed if you weren't in it. So we would love to meet you, and yeah, lots of love. So thanks again. Bye to everybody. Bye to Marlize. Thank you so much.
Bye.
And see you guys soon. Bye.